Hey guys, tonight we are going to stand on the edge of the known world, toes digging into the warm white sand, staring out at a horizon that seems to stretch on forever. We're going back about 1,000 years, give or take a few centuries, to the middle of the Pacific Ocean. We aren't just looking at the water though, we're preparing to cross it. We are going to step aboard a vessel made entirely of wood, stone-carved craftsmanship, and coconut fiber, and we're going to trust it with our lives across thousands of miles of open blue. You can smell the salt in the air, heavy and crisp, mixing with the scent of dried palm fronds and the smoke from a distant cooking fire. The sun is warm on your shoulders, that specific kind of tropical heat that feels like a heavy blanket, making your eyelids heavy before we've even started. But don't fall asleep just yet, because the ocean we're about to cross is notoriously indifferent to your survival. In fact, looking at the sheer scale of the water compared to our little boat, statistically speaking, you probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, let me know in the comments where you're drifting off from tonight and what time it is in your corner of the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are standing on the beach of a small island in what we now call Polynesia. The sand is incredibly fine, almost like powder, dusting your ankles as you walk toward the water's edge. Before you sits the a kalua, the double-hulled voyaging canoe. It's a beast of a machine, though calling it a machine feels wrong. It feels more like a living creature that's currently napping on the shore. It's about 60 feet long, consisting of two massive hollowed-out hulls connected by a central platform. You reach out and run your hand along the side of the porthole. The wood is warm to the touch, polished smooth, not by sandpaper, but by shark skin and tireless rubbing with coral stones. You can feel the slight undulations in the timber where the adze, a stone axe, chipped away the excess wood months ago. It's not perfectly flat like a factory-made plank from Home Depot. It has character. It feels organic. You press your palm against the grain, feeling the vibration of the gentle waves lapping against the stern. This wood was once a giant koa tree up in the mist-shrouded mountains. When the canoe builders cut it down, they performed a ceremony to apologize to the forest spirits, which is a nice gesture, though I'm sure the tree would have preferred to stay upright. Your job right now isn't to navigate, not yet. Your job is to inspect the hull for leaks. You crouch down, knees popping slightly in the quiet morning air, and look closely at the seams. The hulls aren't just single logs. They're built up with planks to give them more freeboard, keeping the ocean out. But wood, as you know, doesn't naturally bond with other wood just by asking it nicely. You run your finger along a black, gummy substance filling the cracks between the planks. This is kapau, a sticky sap harvested from breadfruit trees. It's been cooked and worked until it's basically prehistoric silicone sealant. It smells faint, kind of earthy and sweet, and it's the only thing stopping the Pacific Ocean from flooding your bedroom, which is also your kitchen and your bathroom. It's interesting to think that while Europeans were bumping around the Mediterranean in galleys that needed deep keels to stay upright, your ancestors figured out a completely different engineering solution. The double hull design is brilliant in its simplicity. By lashing two hulls together with a deck in the middle, you create a catamaran. It's incredibly stable. You could dance a hula on the deck and it wouldn't tip over, but it also has a very shallow draft. This means you can sail right up onto a beach or cross a shallow coral reef without ripping the bottom out of your boat. It's the maritime equivalent of driving a Jeep that rides like a Cadillac. As you check the sap, you look up at the crossbeams, the iako, that hold the two hulls together. There isn't a single iron nail, screw, or bolt in this entire structure. If you look closely at the joints, you'll see elaborate, geometric patterns of lashing. This is woven coconut senet, a cordage made from the fibers of coconut husks. Miles and miles of it. It's braided so tight it feels like wire. The entire canoe is literally tied together. This gives the boat flexibility. When a massive ocean swell hits, a rigid boat might snap, But this canoe will flex, groan, and absorb the energy, kind of like a suspension bridge. Or at least, that's what the master navigator told you. You're really hoping he's right, because from down here, it looks like a very sophisticated basket that we're about to throw into a washing machine. You stand up and wipe the sand from your knees. The platform between the hulls is where you'll be living for the next month. It's not exactly spacious. There's a small thatched shelter in the middle, barely big enough for a few people to curl up out of the rain, which basically makes this a floating camping trip that never ends. You walk around the prow of the canoe, admiring the upward curve of the bow. It's designed to slash through waves rather than pound over them. It's elegant. There is a scholarly debate that hangs over this vessel like a ghost. Historians still argue whether the earliest Austronesian expansion was driven by population pressure. Too many people, not enough coconuts, or just a cultural obsession with seeing what was over the next horizon. Looking at this canoe, you get the feeling it's the latter. You don't build something this beautiful just to escape. You build it to explore. It's a spacecraft designed for a liquid universe. The sun is getting higher now, reflecting off the turquoise water of the lagoon with a blinding intensity. You squint, looking past the reef, out to the deep indigo line where the open ocean begins. That's the Mauna Nui, the great expanse. From the beach, it looks peaceful, just a flat blue sheet. But you know that out there the swells are rolling in from storms thousands of miles away near Antarctica. You turn back to the canoe. You need to check the steering paddle. It's massive, essentially a giant oar the size of a surfboard, lashed to the back of the hull. You give it a test pull. It's heavy. Moving this thing against the resistance of the water for 8 hours, a shift is going to give you shoulders like boulders or a permanent back injury. Probably both. You imagine yourself out there in the dark, wrestling this piece of wood to keep the canoe on course while phosphorescent plankton glow beneath you. It sounds romantic until you remember that you also have to bail water if the breadfruit gum fails. There's a quiet bustle starting in the village behind you. The rest of the crew is waking up. You hear the thud of coconuts hitting the sand and the murmur of voices. But for this moment, it's just you and the canoe. You run your hand over the wood one last time, a silent pact between sailor and ship. You trust the wood, the fiber, and the sap, and they trust you not to steer them into a rock. It seems like a fair trade. The sheer ambition of this project starts to sink in. You aren't just sailing to the next island over, the one you can see on a clear day. You are heading for a destination that currently exists only in the navigator's memory, a tiny speck of land weeks away. To find it, you'll have to memorize the sky. No GPS, no compass, no sextant. Just you, the stars, and this wooden platform. It's a terrifying amount of freedom. You take a deep breath, inhaling the smell of the lagoon, decaying coral, salt spray, and wet wood. It's the smell of departure. You check the lashings on the forward crossbeam one more time, plucking the coconut rope like a guitar string. It makes a dull, tight thud. It's ready. You're ready. Or at least, you're as ready as you'll ever be to leave the solid earth behind and become a creature of the water. You turn away from the hull and head toward the staging area, where the supplies are piled high on woven pandanus mats. This is the part of the adventure that nobody puts in the movie trailer. In the films, the hero just jumps on a boat and sails off into the sunset. In reality, about 80% of a voyage is logistics. If you mess this up, you don't just get hungry. You die of thirst or scurvy in the middle of nowhere. So, no pressure. You look at the mountain of provisions. It's essentially a grocery run for 12 burly sailors that has to last for a month, with no refrigeration and no 7-Eleven along the way. Your primary concern is caloric density and spoilage. The tropical heat is an aggressive enemy here. It wants to turn your food into mush before you can eat it. First on the list is powai. You see the women of the village pounding taro roots with stone pestles. Thump, thump, thump. It's a rhythmic, hypnotic sound. The cooked taro is mashed into a thick, purple paste. Fresh poi is great, but it sours quickly. For the voyage, They are making sour poi, which is intentionally fermented. They let it sit until it bubbles and develops a tangy, acidic kick. It's basically a prehistoric probiotic yogurt, but thicker and stickier. They wrap huge bundles of this paste in tea leaves, tying them tight. This stuff is practically indestructible. It can last for weeks without rotting because the fermentation preserves it. You pick up a bundle. It's heavy, dense like a brick of wet clay. You'll be eating this every day. Every single day. You mentally prepare your taste buds for the monotony. Next to the taro is the breadfruit. You can't just bring ripe breadfruit. It'll rot in 2 days. So you're packing mape, cooked and dried chestnuts, and breadfruit that has been sliced and sun-dried into hard, cracker-like chips. They're tough enough to break a tooth if you're not careful, but dip them in some coconut water and they're surprisingly edible. Speaking of coconuts, there's a literal pyramid of them waiting to be loaded. You walk over to the coconut pile. These aren't the brown, hairy ones you see in cartoons. These are young green nuts filled with sweet water. You start counting them. There are hundreds, maybe thousands. You have to load enough to provide drinking water for the crew when the rains don't come. You pick 2 up, shaking them next to your ear. You can hear the slosh of the liquid inside. A good nut is heavy. A light one is useless. You are the quality control officer right now. You toss a light one aside. It's probably cracked or dry. You can't afford to waste space on a dud. Then there's the protein. You see strips of fish, tuna and mahi-mahi, drying on racks in the sun. They've been salted and smoked until they look like leather shoe soles. This is jerky, pure and simple. It's tough, salty, and tastes like the ocean floor, but it will keep you alive. You also see cages woven from flexible branches. Inside, chickens are clucking nervously. They are coming with you, not as pets, but as fresh meat for special occasions, or maybe to colonize the new island if you ever get there. There are also a few pigs, their legs tied, grunting in the shade. The pigs are heavy and notoriously bad sailors. They get seasick. But a roast pig is the ultimate morale booster after 3 weeks of eating sour taro paste. You start lifting the coconuts, passing them to a guy standing on the deck of the canoe. It's a bucket brigade of hydration. Pass de us. Thud. Pass. Thud. Your arms start to burn. You have to stow the heaviest items, the water and the root vegetables, low in the hulls. This acts as ballast. If you put the heavy stuff on the deck, you raise the center of gravity, and the canoe becomes top-heavy. A top-heavy canoe flips over. You do not want to flip over. So you crawl into the dark, cramped space inside the hull, arranging coconuts like you're playing a high-stakes game of Tetris. You wedge them in tight so they don't roll around. The last thing you need is 100 coconuts bowling around your feet while you're trying to sleep during a storm. As you pack, you notice something curious. Among the food, there are bundles of plants that you can't eat. Saplings of breadfruit trees, shoots of sugarcane, tubers of sweet potato, wrapped carefully in moss to keep their roots moist. These aren't for the voyage. These are for the destination. You aren't just explorers. You are terraformers. You are bringing an entire agricultural ecosystem with you. Historians still argue whether the sweet potato, which is native to South America, means Polynesians sailed all the way to Peru and back, or if the potato just drifted on its own. Looking at these carefully wrapped tubers nestled next to your sleeping mat, you feel pretty confident your ancestors knew exactly what they were doing. You don't accidentally sail to Peru and back. You crawl back out of the hull, sweating profusely. The tropical humidity is no joke. You wipe your forehead and grab a drink of water from a gourd. It's warm, but wet. You look at the pile of bamboo lengths. These are filled with fresh water, sealed with wax. Coconuts are great, but you need pure water too. You start lashing these bamboo tubes to the uprights of the shelter on the deck. They need to be accessible but secure. While you are struggling with a particularly stubborn knot, you see the Navigator, the palio, inspecting the supplies. He's looking at a bundle of dried pandanus fruit. It's emergency food. It tastes like sawdust mixed with sugar, but it stays edible for years. He nods, satisfied. He knows that if you get lost, if the winds die, or if a storm blows you off course, the sawdust might be the only thing keeping you from starving. It's a sobering thought. You finish loading the pigs. They squeal in protest as they are lifted onto the platform. You secure them in a pen near the center. The smell of pig manure is already starting to mingle with the sea air. You realize your glamorous ocean voyage is going to smell like a barnyard for the first few days. You give the pig a pat on the head. "Don't worry, buddy," you whisper. "I'm scared too." Finally, you pack your personal gear. This doesn't take long because you own almost nothing. A few spare loincloths made of bark cloth, tapa, a gourd for water, a fishhook carved from bone, and a sleeping mat. That's it. You don't have a suitcase. You don't have a change of shoes. You are traveling light because weight is speed, and speed is survival. You tuck your fish hook into the thatch of the shelter roof, right where you can grab it. You'll be trailing a line behind the canoe almost 24/7. Catching a fresh tuna isn't just sport. It's the difference between a good dinner and eating that leather-shoed jerky again. The sun is dipping lower now, casting long golden shadows across the beach. The pile of supplies has vanished into the belly of the canoe. The vessel sits lower in the water now, heavy and pregnant with provisions. It looks stable, solid. You feel a strange sense of satisfaction. You've checked every coconut, tied every bundle, stowed every pig. You know exactly where everything is. If you need a drink in the dark, you know which bamboo tube to grab. If the hull springs a leak, you know where the extra breadfruit sap is kept. You sit down on the sand, leaning back against a palm tree, your muscles humming with fatigue. The logistics are done. The grocery run is complete. Now, the only thing left to pack is your mind. You look up at the sky, where the first stars are starting to twinkle in the twilight. The easy part is over. Now you have to figure out where the heck you're going. The firelight flickers on the sand, casting dancing shadows that look like restless spirits. It's night now, but you aren't sleeping. You are sitting cross-legged in a circle with the other apprentices, your eyes gritty with exhaustion, staring at the Navigator. He is an old man, his skin weathered like old leather, his eyes milky with cataracts but seeing things you can't even imagine. He isn't looking at you, he's looking up, and you have to look up too. This is the star compass. It isn't a physical object. You can't hold it in your hand. You can't drop it overboard. It exists entirely inside your skull, which is terrifying because you can barely remember where you left your stone adze this morning. But you have to memorize this. If you forget it, you get lost. And in the Pacific, lost is just a polite word for dead. The Navigator points a gnarled finger at the horizon. "Rising point of Melakukahi," he croaks. You follow his finger. A bright star is just peeling itself off the ocean's surface in the east. You repeat the name. Melakukahi. It's the star we call Sirius today. But names don't matter as much as position. You have to memorize exactly where it rises, relative to the shape of the island behind you. Then you have to memorize where it sets. That's 2 points on the compass. Only 30 more stars to go. The concept is simple, even if the execution is brutal. The horizon is a circle, 360 degrees. The stars are the tick marks on that circle. They rise in the east and set in the west at specific, unchanging points. If you know that star arises in the northeast, and you point your canoe at it, you are heading northeast. Simple geometry. The problem is the Earth moves. The stars rise and keep moving higher until they are overhead, then they slide down to set. You only have a window of time when a rising star is useful for steering. Maybe an hour or so near the horizon. After that, it's too high to give you a precise bearing. So, you need another star rising right behind it to take its place. You start the chant. It's a rhythmic, repetitive list of star names, their rising points and their setting points. It's like memorizing the phone book set to a monotonous drumbeat. Hokula rises here. Hakianali rises there. The Southern Cross leans this way. Your brain starts to ache. It feels full, bloated with data. You close your eyes and try to visualize the star compass as a giant wheel floating on the water around your canoe. The navigator strikes the sand with a stick. "Where is the house of the frigate bird?" he barks. You jump. You panic. You point vaguely northwest. He whacks your shoulder with the stick. Not hard, just enough to say you just killed us all. "North-northwest," he corrects. "The star Vega. It sets in the house of the frigate bird." You nod, rubbing your shoulder. "Right. Vega dot. Frigate bird. Got it." This mental compass is divided into 32 houses, spaced unevenly around the horizon. Unlike a Western magnetic compass with its rigid north, south, east, west, this system uses the natural spacing of the stars. It's organic. It's not perfect math. It's perfect observation. Historians often debate how these systems evolved without written language. Some argue it was purely oral tradition passed down for thousands of years. Others think they used physical teaching aids, like stones arranged in a circle on the beach. Right now, looking at the stones the navigator has placed around you in the sand, you realize it's both. You stare at the stones. Each one represents a star house. The navigator moves a smaller pebble into the center. "This is the canoe," he says. He moves another pebble to the edge. "This is the island." He drags the pebble across the sand. The island moves to the canoe. It's a strange concept. In Western navigation, you move across a static map. In this system, you are the center of the universe, stationary, and you pull the islands toward you by dragging the ocean past your hull. It sounds like metaphysical mumbo-jumbo, but it's actually a brilliant psychological trick. It keeps you oriented. You are always here. The destination is just there, waiting to be pulled in. The chanting continues. You switch to the zenith stars. These are the stars that pass directly overhead at specific latitudes. This is crucial. Every island has a specific star that passes directly over it every night. If you are under that star, you are at the latitude of that island. It's like a celestial zip code. You have to memorize the zenith star for your home island, your destination island, and every major emergency island in between. Arcturus passes over Hawaii. Sirius passes over Tahiti. If you see Sirius directly overhead, you know you are on the latitude of Tahiti. You might be 1,000 miles east or west of it, but you're on the right highway. You just need to drive along that line until you hit land. Your throat is dry from chanting. You take a sip of water, but the navigator doesn't stop. He points to the gap between the stars. "What is there?" he asks. You squint. "Nothing," you say. "Darkness." He shakes his head. "The wind," he says. "The swell." You have to memorize those two. The star compass isn't just for stars. It's a grid for organizing everything. The wind comes from the house of the rising sun. The swell is rolled in from the house of the Southern Cross. It's a unified theory of everything. You lie back in the sand for a moment, looking up at the real sky. It's overwhelming. There are so many of them. Millions of pinpricks of light. How can anyone tell them apart? But as you stare, patterns start to emerge. You see the hook of Scorpio. You see the belt of Orion. They become familiar faces in a crowded room. You realize that out on the ocean, these won't just be lights. They will be your friends. Your only friends. They are the only things in the universe that will tell you the truth. The wind can shift and lie to you. The waves can be chaotic. But the stars are reliable. They show up for work every night at the exact same time. You sit up again. The navigator is drawing lines in the sand connecting the stones. He is showing you pairs. When one star rises, another sets. If clouds block the east, you can look west and use the setting star to find your bearing. It's a backup system. Redundancy is key. You repeat the pairs. Rise here, set there. Rise here, set there. It becomes a song, a lullaby of coordinates. You start to feel a strange sensation, a mix of terror and confidence. The terror comes from knowing that if you forget one verse of this song, you drift forever. The confidence comes from realizing that the map is already in your head. You don't need a battery. You don't need a satellite. You just need a clear sky. The navigator finally stops. He looks at you with his milky eyes. The canoe is not the vessel, he whispers, tapping his own forehead. You are the vessel. The canoe just keeps your feet dry. It's a heavy philosophical drop for 2 a.m., but you get it. You are the navigation computer. You crawl onto your sleeping mat, the chant still echoing in your mind. Mela Kukahi rises. Vega sets. You close your eyes, but the stars are still there, burned into your eyelids. You drift off to sleep, dreaming of lines of light connecting the horizon, a giant spider web of geometry that holds the entire Pacific Ocean together. And somewhere in that web tomorrow, you have to find a way to catch a tiny speck of rock and sand. The morning of the launch doesn't start with a fanfare or a dramatic speech. It starts with grunt work, the kind of physical labor that makes your muscles scream before the sun has even cleared the palm trees. The canoe, fully loaded with pigs, coconuts, and 12 anxious sailors, weighs tons. And currently, it is sitting on dry sand about 50 yards from the water. Physics is not on your side today. The entire village has come out to help. It's a chaotic scene of organized struggle. Men, women, children, everyone is here. You can hear the rhythmic chanting starting up again. But this time it isn't about stars. It's a heave-ho chant, a timing mechanism for applying brute force. Hooky. Pull. Hooky. You are down in the mud near the stern, shoulder pressed against the cold wood of the hull. You are the engine. Large, round logs have been laid out across the sand like train tracks to act as rollers. The idea is to roll the canoe over them, so you don't drag the bottom off. It sounds great in theory. In practice, the logs sink into the soft sand, the canoe gets stuck, and you spend half the time digging and swearing. Hooky. The cry goes up. You drive your legs into the sand, gritting your teeth. The canoe groans. It lurches forward maybe 6 inches. Then it stops. You reset. You do it again. The sweat is already pouring down your back, mixing with the sand to form a gritty paste that chafes your skin. You look at the guy next to you. He's grinning, veins popping in his neck. This is a community event. It's like a barn raising, but wet. As the canoe inches closer to the surf, you break away to do one final obsessive check of the lashings. You know you checked them yesterday. You know the navigator checked them. You know the chief checked them. But anxiety is a powerful motivator. You climb on the crossbeams, your fingers tracing the complex knots of the coconut sennit. You pull on them. They are tight as iron. The sennit shrinks when it gets wet, tightening the joint even further. It's genius engineering. But you still worry. Is that one loop slightly frayed? Did a rat chew on this section during the night? You retie a loose end that didn't really need retying, just to feel like you have control over something. The canoe hits the water with a splash that feels momentous. The hulls bob, floating high despite the load. The buoyancy of wood is a beautiful thing. The rollers are pulled away, and suddenly the vessel is alive. It shifts with the small shore break, restless. The transition from land object to sea creature is complete. Now comes the boarding. It's awkward. You wade out waist deep, holding your personal gourd high above your head to keep it dry. You haul yourself up onto the deck, water streaming off your legs. The deck feels different now that it's afloat. It's moving beneath your feet, a constant, subtle shifting that you will not escape for the next month. Your inner ear starts its calibration process, sending steady yourself signals to your calves. You take your position at the stern. Your job for the launch is to man one of the steering sweeps. You grab the handle of the massive paddle. It feels solid, vibrating slightly with the energy of the waves hitting the rudder. You look back at the beach. The villagers are waving. Some are crying. It's a heavy moment. You are leaving your world. For the ancient Polynesians, this wasn't just a trip. It was often a one-way ticket. You might find a new island and never come back. Or you might just disappear. The finality of it hangs in the air. Raise the sail, the navigator commands. His voice is calm, cutting through the emotional fog. You leave the steer and sweep to the other guy and rush to the mast. The sail is a triangular mat of woven pandanus leaves, shaped like a crab-clawed dado. It's heavy and stiff. You and two others haul on the halyards. The sail creaks up the mast, unfolding like a giant tan wing. It catches the trade wind with a thwack. The canoe shudders. You feel the power transfer instantly from the wind to the wood. The boat leans just slightly and starts to surge forward. This is the moment of commitment. You can't stop now. The wind has you. The canoe accelerates, cutting through the turquoise water of the lagoon toward the reef pass. The pass is the danger zone. It's a narrow gap in the coral wall where the open ocean tide rushes in and out. The water there is turbulent, boiling with conflicting currents. If you hit the reef, the voyage ends in 5 minutes with a lot of splintered wood and drowning pigs. You grab the steering sweep again, your knuckles white. The navigator is shouting commands now, reading the water. Steer left, hard right. You fight the paddle. The water fights back. The current grabs the blade, trying to rip it out of your hands. You use your whole body weight, leaning back, using your legs as leverage. The canoe dances through the chop, spray flying over the bow, soaking you completely. It's exhilarating and terrifying. And then, suddenly, silence. Well, not silence, but a change in the sound. The sharp, angry slap of the lagoon chop is replaced by the long, deep heave of the ocean swell. You are through. You are out. The water changes color instantly, from the bright, happy turquoise of the shallows to a deep, ominous, ink blue. The blue water. It looks thick, heavy, bottomless. You look back. The island is already receding, shrinking into a green jewel set in a silver rain surf. The people on the beach are just dots. The noise of the village is gone, replaced by the wind in the rigging and the hiss of water rushing past the hulls. You realize with a jolt that there is no brake pedal on this thing. You are going where the wind takes you. The crew settles into a rhythm. There's a quiet efficiency. Ropes are coiled. Nets are adjusted. The pig stops squealing and seemingly accepts its fate. You sit down by the steering sweep, your heart rate slowly coming back down to double digits. You check the lashings again. Just a glance. They held. The canoe feels solid. It rides the big swells comfortably, rising and falling with a slow, majestic cadence. You look at the horizon ahead. It's empty. Just a flat, straight line dividing the blue water from the blue sky. It looks the same in every direction. If you turn the canoe around 360 degrees, the view wouldn't change. This is the void, and you have just stepped into it. You take a sip from your water gourd. It tastes like the village spring. It's a taste of home that you won't have again for a long time. You cork it carefully. Every drop is precious now. You wipe the salt spray from your face and look at the navigator. He is standing at the stern, looking back at the island, lining it up with a mountain peak to get our initial bearing. He looks calm. He looks like he's just commuting to work. His calm is infectious. You take a deep breath of the clean ocean air. You are doing this. You are actually doing this. You are a voyager. And for the next few weeks, your entire world is 60 feet long and smells like wet pig. The morning of the launch doesn't start with a fanfare or a dramatic speech. It starts with grunt work. The kind of physical labor that makes your muscles scream before the sun has even cleared the palm trees. The canoe, fully loaded with pigs, coconuts, and 12 anxious sailors, weighs tons. And currently, it is sitting on dry sand, about 50 yards from the water. Physics is not on your side today. The entire village has come out to help. It's a chaotic scene of organized struggle. Men, women, children, everyone is here. You can hear the rhythmic chanting starting up again, but this time it isn't about stars. It's a heave-ho chant. a timing mechanism for applying brute force. Hooky! Pull! Hooky! You are down in the mud near the stern, shoulder pressed against the cold wood of the hull. You are the engine. Large, round logs have been laid out across the sand like train tracks to act as rollers. The idea is to roll the canoe over them so you don't drag the bottom off. It sounds great in theory. In practice, the logs sink into the soft sand. The canoe gets stuck, and you spend half the time digging and swearing. Hooky! The cry goes up. You drive your legs into the sand, gritting your teeth. The canoe groans. It lurches forward maybe 6 inches. Then it stops. You reset. You do it again. The sweat is already pouring down your back, mixing with the sand to form a gritty paste that chafes your skin. You look at the guy next to you. He's grinning, veins popping in his neck. This is a community event. It's like a barn raising, but wet. As the canoe inches closer to the surf, you break away to do one final, obsessive check of the lashings. You know you checked them yesterday. You know the Navigator checked them. You know the chief checked them. But anxiety is a powerful motivator. You climb onto the crossbeams, your fingers tracing the complex knots of the coconut sennit. You pull on them. They are tight as iron. The sennit shrinks when it gets wet, tightening the joint even further. It's genius engineering. But you still worry. Is that one loop slightly frayed? Did a rat chew on this section during the night? You retie a loose end that didn't really need retying, just to feel like you have control over something. The canoe hits the water with a splash that feels momentous. The hulls bob, floating high despite the load. The buoyancy of wood is a beautiful thing. The rollers are pulled away, and suddenly the vessel is alive. It shifts with the small shore break, restless. The transition from land object to sea creature is complete. Now comes the boarding. It's awkward. You wade out waist deep, holding your personal gourd high above your head to keep it dry. You haul yourself up onto the deck, water streaming off your legs. The deck feels different now that it's afloat. It's moving beneath your feet, a constant, subtle shifting that you will not escape for the next month. Your inner ear starts its calibration process, sending steady yourself signals to your calves. You take your position at the stern. Your job for the launch is to man one of the steering sweeps. You grab the handle of the massive paddle. It feels solid, vibrating slightly with the energy of the waves hitting the rudder. You look back at the beach. The villagers are waving. Some are crying. It's a heavy moment. You are leaving your world. For the ancient Polynesians, this wasn't just a trip. It was often a one-way ticket. You might find a new island and never come back. Or you might just disappear. The finality of it hangs in the air. Raise the sail, the navigator commands. His voice is calm, cutting through the emotional fog. You leave the steering sweep to the other guy and rush to the mast. The sail is a triangular mat of woven pandanus leaves, shaped like a crab claw dada. It's heavy and stiff. You and 2 others haul on the halyards. The sail creaks up the mast, unfolding like a giant tan wing. It catches the trade wind with a thwack. The canoe shudders. You feel the power transfer instantly from the wind to the wood. The boat leans, just slightly, and starts to surge forward. This is the moment of commitment. You can't stop now. The wind has you. The canoe accelerates, cutting through the turquoise water of the lagoon toward the reef pass. The pass is the danger zone. It's a narrow gap in the coral wall where the open ocean tide rushes in and out. The water there is turbulent, boiling with conflicting currents. If you hit the reef, the voyage ends in 5 minutes with a lot of splintered wood and drowning pigs. You grab the steer and sweep again, your knuckles wide. The navigator is shouting commands now, reading the water. Steer left, hard right. You fight the paddle. The water fights back. The current grabs the blade, trying to rip it out of your hands. You use your whole body weight, leaning back, using your legs as leverage. The canoe dances through the chop, spray flying over the bow, soaking you completely. It's exhilarating and terrifying. And then, suddenly, silence. Well, not silence, but a change in the sound. The sharp, angry slap of the lagoon chop is replaced by the long, deep heave of the ocean swell. You are through. You are out. The water changes color instantly, from the bright, happy turquoise of the shallows to a deep, ominous ink blue. The blue water, it looks thick, heavy, bottomless. You look back. The island is already receding, shrinking into a green jewel set in a silver ring of surf. The people on the beach are just dots. The noise of the village is gone, replaced by the wind and the rigging and the hiss of water rushing past the hulls. You realize with a jolt that there is no brake pedal on this thing. You are going where the wind takes you. The crew settles into a rhythm. There's a quiet efficiency. Ropes are coiled. Mats are adjusted. The pig stops squealing and seemingly accepts its fate. You sit down by the steering sweep, your heart rate slowly coming back down to double digits. You check the lashings again. Just a glance. They held. Hung. The canoe feels solid. It rides the big swells comfortably, rising and falling with a slow, majestic cadence. You look at the horizon ahead. It's empty. Just a flat, straight line dividing the blue water from the blue sky. It looks the same in every direction. If you turn the canoe around 360 degrees, the view wouldn't change. This is the void, and you have just stepped into it. You take a sip from your water gourd. It tastes like the village spring. It's a taste of home that you won't have again for a long time. You cork it carefully. Every drop is precious now. You wipe the salt spray from your face and look at the Navigator. He is standing at the stern, looking back at the island, lining it up with a mountain peak to get our initial bearing. He looks calm. He looks like he's just commuting to work. His calm is infectious. You take a deep breath of the clean ocean air. You are doing this. You are actually doing this. You are a voyager. And for the next few weeks, your entire world is 60 feet long and smells like wet pig. The sun is gone. The ocean is black. The sky is black. The only difference is the sky has sprinkles of glitter, and the ocean has sprinkles of bioluminescence. You wake up for the night shift, your body groaning in protest. It's 2 a.m. The graveyard watch. Except out here, there's no graveyard, just miles of crushing depth. You crawl out of the shelter, rubbing the sleep from your eyes. The air is cooler now, stripping away the brutal heat of the day, but it's still humid, clinging to your skin. You take your position at the stern again. The daytime swell steering is over. Now, we are precision instruments. Now, we use the stars. The Navigator is already there, awake. He probably hasn't slept. He looks like a statue carved from mahogany, staring straight up. Zenith star approaching, he murmurs. You crane your neck back. This is the chiropractor's nightmare shift. You aren't looking at the horizon anymore. You are looking directly overhead. The Zenith star concept is the Polynesians' brilliant solution to finding latitude without a GPS. Every star traces a specific path across the sky, passing directly over a specific line of latitude on Earth. If a star passes directly over your head, at the zenith, you are standing on that star's latitude. Tonight, we are looking for Hokulea, Arcturus. We know that Arcturus passes directly over the Hawaiian Islands. If we sail north and see Arcturus passing south of our zenith, we are too far north. If it passes north of our zenith, we are still too far south. It's a celestial game of hot or cold. You watch the star climb. It's a bright orange giant. It looks angry compared to the cool blue white of Sirius. You have to judge its angle relative to the mast. Is it straight up? Or is it leaning slightly to the left? The canoe rocks, making this incredibly difficult. You have to mentally stabilize the image. It's like trying to thread a needle while riding a mechanical bull. Still south, the Navigator says. He's right. Arcturus is crossing the sky slightly to the north of vertical. That means we haven't reached the latitude of Hawaii yet. We keep sailing. But zenith stars only tell you latitude, north-south. They don't tell you longitude. east-west. For that, we need the horizon stars again. You look forward, past the prow of the canoe. The steering stars are your target. You pick a star that is low on the horizon, directly in front of the canoe. You steer for it. Simple, right? The problem is, the star moves. It rises and drifts. If you chase it, you'll end up sailing in a curve. So, you can only use a star for about 20 minutes. Then, as it gets too high or drifts too far, you have to dump it and pick a new star rising in the same spot. It's a constant rotation. Target star too high. Switch to target star B. Too high. Switch to target star C. You are stitching together a straight line from a series of moving dots. And what if it's cloudy? That's the nightmare. You look ahead. A patch of darkness is blotting out the stars near the horizon. A squall? It's eating your road signs. You feel a spike of adrenaline. If you lose the stars, you lose the course. Wind Aaron, the navigator barks. He's switching modes. He can't see the stars, so he's using the wind angle on his cheek. Keep the wind on your left ear. You turn your head. You feel the breeze. It's steady. The trade winds are reliable. Mostly. You steer to keep that pressure constant on your cheek. It's a crude backup, but it works until the clouds pass. Suddenly, a gap opens in the clouds. A star winks out. Polaris. The North Star. It's sitting there stationary, the only star that doesn't move. In the southern hemisphere, we didn't have this luxury. Now that we are crossing the equator, seeing Polaris is like seeing a lighthouse. It anchors the whole sky. The higher Polaris is off the horizon, the further north we are. You can literally measure your latitude by how many finger widths Polaris is above the water. You hold up your hand, fingers extended at arm's length. 1 finger. 2 fingers? It's about 2 fingers high. We are roughly 3 to 4 degrees north. We have a long way to go. The silence of the night is profound. The only sounds are the hiss of the water parting around the hulls and the creaking of the ropes. It's hypnotic. You find yourself drifting into a trance state. The Polynesians call it kapu, a sacred state of focus. You aren't thinking about dinner. You aren't thinking about your ex-girlfriend. You are just a processing unit for angles and light. Scholars debate how the navigators stayed awake. Some say they slept in short bursts, micro-naps, while the apprentice steered. Others say they chewed mild stimulants like betel nut, though that's more Western Pacific. Out here, it seems simpler. Adrenaline and responsibility. If the navigator falls asleep, everyone dies. That's a pretty good espresso shot. You look down at the water. Trails of green fire are shooting away from the rudder. Phosphorescence. It's disturbed plankton glowing in the dark. It looks like you are steering through a galaxy, mirroring the one above. The line between sky and ocean blurs. You feel like you are floating in a void of stars. That's beautiful and completely disorienting. Check the wake, the navigator says quietly. You look back. The wake of the canoe should be a straight line of bubbles and glowing green fire. If it's zigzagging, you're steering badly. If it's curving, you're drifting. You adjust your grip on the sweep. You straighten the line. You are painting a straight stripe across the ocean. As the night wears on, the fatigue hits you in waves. Your eyes start to play tricks. You see islands that aren't there, shadows on the horizon that turn out to be low clouds. You see ships that turn out to be rising planets. You shake your head, slapping your cheeks to stay sharp. The navigator starts a low chant. It's not a lesson this time. It's a story. A legend about a hero who snared the sun to slow it down. The rhythm of his voice matches the rhythm of the swell. It keeps you awake. It keeps the crew connected. History isn't just in books. Here it's a survival tool. The stories contain the data. The myths are the maps. Finally, the sky to the east begins to turn a bruised purple, then a pale gray. The stars start to fade, one by one. Navigation markers are turning off their lights. The night shift is ending. You feel a massive wave of relief. You survived the darkness. You didn't lose the boat. The sun peeks over the horizon, blindingly bright. The magic of the stardome is broken. You were just a bunch of tired guys on a wooden raft again. You lock the steering sweep and stretch your back. It pops audibly. Get some sleep, the navigator says. He doesn't look tired. He looks immortal. You crawl back to your mat, shielding your eyes from the morning glare. You close your eyes, and instantly, behind your eyelids, you see the grid of stars again. It's burned in deep. You are becoming the compass. The sun is up, and it is angry. If the night was a test of focus, the day's a test of endurance. There is nowhere to hide. The sun in the equatorial Pacific is not the friendly, warming sun of a spring picnic. It is a nuclear reactor hanging directly overhead, trying to bleach your bones white. You wake up from your nap soaked in sweat. The shelter provides some shade, but it traps the humidity. You feel like a dim sum dumpling being steamed in a bamboo basket. You crawl out onto the deck, squinting against the glare. The water is a blinding mirror. You can feel the UV radiation sizzling on your skin. This is why you rubbed your body with coconut oil mixed with turmeric this morning. It's an ancient sunscreen. It smells earthy and makes you look slightly jaundiced, but it beats third-degree burns. With the stars gone, navigation changes gears completely. You can't look up anymore. There's just blinding blue emptiness. So, you look down. You look at the shadows. In the middle of the deck, there's a short, vertical stick lashed to the railing. It looks random, but it's a sun compass. You watch the shadow of the stick as it creeps across the deck. At noon, the shadow will be at its shortest. If the shadow points directly north, because the sun is in the south, you have a bearing. But at these latitudes, near the equator, the sun can be directly overhead. At the zenith, casting almost no shadow at all. It's tricky. You have to watch the angle. Is the sun slightly to your left? Slightly to your right? You check the course. We're supposed to be heading northeast. So, in the morning, with the sun rising in the east, the sun should be on your right shoulder. In the afternoon, as it sets in the west, it should be on your left shoulder. It sounds simple, but as the sun arcs high overhead, that left-right distinction gets blurry. You have to constantly adjust. And then there's the color of the water. This is a subtle art that borders on magic. The ocean isn't just blue. It's a million shades of blue, and each shade tells a story. You lean over the side, shading your eyes. The water here is a deep, impenetrable indigo, almost purple. This is Moana Nui Dato, deep ocean. It means the bottom is miles down. It means the water is pure, with very little life or sediment clouding it. If the water turns a lighter azure, it might mean a current is upwelling, bringing nutrients from the deep. That could mean fish. If it turns a murky green, it means plankton or algae, often a sign of land runoff or a shallow bank. You are reading the water like a mood ring. Current shift, the navigator says. He points to a line of debris floating in the water, a drift line of seaweed, driftwood, and foam. The water on one side of the line looks slightly choppier than the other. This is a shear line where two currents meet. We are crossing the equatorial countercurrent. It flows east against the trade winds. It's like an invisible conveyor belt trying to drag us backwards. If we don't account for this, we could think we are sailing north, but actually be sliding sideways to the east. We would miss our target island by 100 miles. The navigator watches the drift of the bubbles along the hull. He drops a piece of wood into the water at the bow and counts how many seconds it takes to reach the stern. He's calculating our speed through the water versus our speed over the ground. It's mental calculus without a calculator. He adjusts the steering sweep. We have to crab the canoe, point the nose slightly into the current to counteract the drift. It feels wrong, like driving a car diagonally down the highway, but it keeps us on a straight line relative to the seafloor. The heat is relentless. The wind provides some relief, but it also dries you out. You reach for your water gourd. You take a sip. Just a sip. Discipline is everything. You swirl the water in your mouth before swallowing, trying to trick your brain into thinking you had more. You look at the other sailors. They are listless, moving slowly to conserve energy. Someone is pouring buckets of seawater over the deck to keep the wood from drying out and cracking. The steam rises instantly. You start hallucinating slightly from the heat. The horizon seems to wobble. You see a bird. Or is it a spot in your eye? No, it's a bird. A solitary booby, flapping lazily. It circles the canoe, curious. It lands on the mast. The crew watches it hungrily. Fresh meat? No. The navigator shakes his head. It's bad luck to kill a bird that lands on your vessel. It's a guest. Plus, this bird is a pelagic species. It sleeps on the water. It doesn't mean land is close. It's just a fellow traveler in the void. You spend hours just staring at the color of the sky near the horizon. You are looking for land clouds. Clouds over open water look different than clouds over an island. The heat, radiating off a landmass, rises, pushing the clouds up higher, making them taller, stationary towers in a moving stream of fluff. Also, the underside of a cloud over a lagoon might reflect a faint green tint. The underside of a cloud over a forest might look darker. You are literally looking for the reflection of an island in the sky before you can see the island itself. Historians debate whether Polynesians used polarized light to navigate. Some theories suggest they could see the polarization of skylight to find the sun's position even when it was hidden by clouds, similar to how Vikings might have used sunstones. There's no hard archaeological evidence for sunstones here, but modern studies show that experienced navigators can indeed detect subtle polarization bands in the sky with the naked eye. It looks like a faint hourglass shape in the blue. You squint, trying to see it. Maybe. Or maybe you're just getting sunstroke. The afternoon drags on. The sun begins its descent, becoming less aggressive, turning golden again. The shadows on the deck lengthen. Navigation becomes easier again as the sun moves toward the horizon, giving a clear east-west bearing. You feel a sense of survival. You made it through another day of the burning furnace. The canoe is still moving. The water is still blue. You check the lashings again. The heat can make the ropes loosen as they dry. They seem okay. You pour a bucket of seawater over your head. The shock of cool water is ecstatic. You shake your hair like a dog, droplets flying. The sun touches the horizon, flattening into a squashed oval. For a brief second, just as it disappears, you see it, the green flash, a tiny pop of emerald light at the very top of the sun's rim. It's an atmospheric refraction phenomenon, but out here, it feels like a wink from the universe, a signal that the day shift is officially over. The stars are clocking back in. You take a deep breath. The air is cooling. You survived the oven. Now, get ready for the freezer. We are deep in the voyage now. The initial excitement of the launch has worn off, replaced by a routine that blends monotony with high-stakes anxiety. The days blur into the nights. You have stopped counting them in the traditional sense. You don't think it's Tuesday. You think it's the third day of the northeast wind. To keep your sanity and to keep track of where we are, you have to master a mental trick called ETAC. This is the concept of the moving islands. In Western navigation, you are a dot moving across a grid. You draw a line from point A to point B, and you crawl along that line. In Polynesian navigation, you are the center of the universe. The canoe is stationary. It is the fixed point of reference. The ocean flows past you. The islands move toward you. It sounds like a philosophical distinction, but it's a practical navigation tool. Imagine you are sitting on a train looking out the window. The telephone poles whip past you. The distant mountains move slowly. The moon doesn't move at all. This is parallax. ATAC uses this same principle. We are sailing toward a destination island. Let's call it Island B. We left Island A, but we can't see either of them. So, we use a third reference point, a reference island off to the side, maybe 300 miles away. We can't see that one either, but we know where it is in our mental map. As we sail, or as the ocean moves past us, That reference island moves backward through the star points on the horizon. When we started, the reference island was under the star Antares. After a week, it has slid back and is now under the star Altair. After 2 weeks, it will be under Vega. We divide our journey into segments based on which star the reference island is currently under. We are in the segment of Altair. It gives us a way to measure progress when there are no mile markers. It turns the empty ocean into a segmented timeline. You sit on the deck, closing your eyes, trying to visualize this geometry. You imagine the canoe is still. You imagine the entire Pacific plate sliding under your hull like a conveyor belt. You imagine that distant, invisible island tracking slowly across the horizon, taking off the stars one by one. Tick, tock, tick, tick, tick. It's a way to triangulate your position using invisible landmarks. This mental model creates a strange sensation. You don't feel like you are traveling to a place. You feel like you are pulling the place to you. You are reeling in the horizon. It makes the voyage feel less like a desperate journey into the unknown, and more like a gathering process. But today, the ocean decides to mess with your carefully constructed reality. The wind shifts. It's been a steady northeast trade wind for days, predictable and firm. Now, it falters. It swings to the north, then to the northwest. This is bad. A headwind. The canoe can't sail directly into the wind. No sailboat can. But a double-hulled canoe with a crab claw sail isn't exactly an America's Cup yacht. It doesn't tack, zigzag, very efficiently. To tack this beast, you don't just turn the wheel. You have to shunt. Prepare to shunt, the navigator yells. The crew groans. This is heavy lifting. Shunting means you reverse the entire boat. You don't turn the bow through the wind. You take the steering paddle from the back and move it to the front. You take the sail from one end and carry it to the other end. The bow becomes the stern. The stern becomes the bow. The canoe is symmetrical, fore and aft, for exactly this reason. You scramble to your feet. You grab the corner of the heavy sail. The wind is flapping it violently. Hooky! You haul the sail down, wrestle the yard arms along the deck, stepping over sleeping pigs and piles of coconuts. It's a chaotic dance of 12 men trying not to knock each other overboard. You re-hoist the sail on the other end. You relash the steering sweep. Now, the canoe is sailing in the other direction, angling across the wind. You have changed the tack, but you have also changed your mental map. The canoe has flipped 180 degrees. The star that was on your left is now on your right. You have to mentally flip the entire universe inside your head. It's disorienting. You do this for hours. Sail northwest, dotty. Shunt, dot. Sail northeast, dotty. Shunt. You are clawing your way upwind, fighting for every mile. The moving island in your ETAC calculation has stopped moving. It's hovering. We aren't making progress. We are just pacing back and forth in the middle of the ocean. Frustration sets in. You look at the water. It looks the same as it did yesterday. Are we getting anywhere? Or are we just adrift? The doubt is the most dangerous thing on the boat. More dangerous than sharks. If the crew loses faith in the navigator, mutiny happens. Or worse, despair. The navigator knows this. He starts talking about the birds again. Look, he points. A tiny white speck in the sky. A white tern. Manuoku. That bird doesn't fly more than 40 miles from land, he says. You stare at the bird. It's a fairy-like creature, pure white, fluttering erratically. It's beautiful. But 40 miles? That means land is close. Which land? An island we know? Or a reef we don't? The navigator watches the bird. In the evening, the bird will fly toward land to sleep. We just have to wait and see which way it goes. It's a living compass needle. We watch that bird like it's the Messiah. As the sun sets, the bird circles once, twice, then shoots off decisively toward the southwest. There, The navigator nods. The island is there. We can't see it. It's over the curve of the earth. But the bird knows. The bird has a home. We adjust our course slightly. We trust the bird. This is the beauty of this navigation. It uses everything. The stars are the GPS. The swell is the speedometer. The birds are the local guides. The ETAC system is the progress bar. You are plugged into a massive redundant system of data streams. You lie back on the deck as darkness falls. The shunting is done for now. We are back on a steady reach. You close your eyes and try to bring back the feeling of the moving island. You imagine the bird flying home to its nest in a Pisonia tree on a sandy atoll. You imagine that atoll sliding slowly toward you through the dark water. You realize that discovery isn't the right word for what you are doing. You aren't stumbling upon things. You are reading the signs that were already there. The ocean has been screaming land is that way. All day long, through the wave patterns, the cloud colors, the bird flight. You just had to learn the language to hear it. You drift off, dreaming of white birds and moving islands, trusting that the universe is bringing you exactly where you need to go, even if you feel like you're standing still. We have been at sea for 2 weeks. The novelty of the endless blue has worn off, replaced by a deep, meditative boredom. The canoe is a tiny splinter of wood floating in a void. To keep your mind from eating itself, you start obsessing over clouds. Not the big storm clouds. Those are obvious. You are looking for the subtle stuff. The cloud map, dictate. You are lying on your back on the deck, staring straight up at the underside of the cumulus clouds drifting overhead. Clouds are mirrors. They reflect what is underneath them. A cloud floating over deep, dark blue water will have a dark gray or bluish underside. It absorbs the color of the abyss. But a cloud floating over a shallow turquoise lagoon, that's different. The white sand and bright water reflect sunlight back up, tinting the belly of the cloud with a faint, almost imperceptible green or cyan glow. The Polynesians call this tilapa, though that term specifically refers to underwater lightning. The concept of reading reflected light is similar. You are looking for the lagoon glint. It is midday. The sun is high. This is the best time to see it. You scan the horizon. There is a bank of puffy white clouds about 10 miles to the west. They all look identical. White tops, gray bottoms. You squint. You use your hands to block the glare of the sun. You are looking for a glitch in the matrix. A color that shouldn't be there. Third one from the left, the navigator murmurs. He doesn't point. Pointing is rude to the gods of the sky. He just nods his chin. You stare at the third cloud. It looks normal. Just a fluffy sheep in the sky. You stare harder. You relax your eyes, letting them defocus slightly. And then you see it. Or maybe you imagine it. A tiny, faint smear of emerald green on the bottom edge of the cloud. It's the color of a shallow swimming pool reflected on a white ceiling. That green tint is the reflection of a lagoon. That cloud is parking over an island. It's like a neon sign saying free coconuts here, but written in invisible ink. The problem is, clouds move. The trade winds push them. So, the cloud you are looking at is moving away from the island it just reflected. You have to trace the path of the cloud backward. You have to estimate the wind speed at altitude. You have to calculate where that cloud was 10 minutes ago. That is where the island is. It's a ghost hunt. You are tracking the shadow of a reflection of a memory of an island. We alter course slightly to chase the ghost. The crew perks up. The possibility of land, even theoretical land, is electric. Eyes scan the water. We are looking for other signs now. Debris. You spot something floating. A coconut. Not one of ours. An old brown husk-stripped coconut bobbing in the waves. You fish it out with a net. The navigator inspects it. He looks at the barnacles growing on it. Small barnacles means it hasn't been in the water long. It fell from a tree recently. Large barnacles means it's been drifting for months, possibly from South America. He scrapes a barnacle off with his thumbnail. Fresh, he says. He cracks the nut open. He tastes the remaining meat. It's rotten, but not ancient. 2 days, he guesses. This nut fell 2 days ago. This confirms the cloud sighting. Land is near. Upwind. But which land? Is it our destination? Or is it a dangerous reef that will tear our hulls apart? We don't know yet. We have to get closer. As the afternoon wears on, the atmosphere on the boat changes. It gets quieter. People are listening. Not with their ears, but with their instincts. The navigator is looking at the flight path of birds again. Terns, boobies, noddies. They are all converging. It's like rush hour traffic heading home to the suburbs. They are all flying west-southwest. Landfall tomorrow, the navigator announces. He says it casually, like he's ordering a pizza. But you can see the tension in his shoulders relax. He was right. The star compass worked. The swell worked. The cloud map worked. The math held up. The sun begins to set. And the cloud formations change. As the air cools, the clouds over the open ocean tend to dissipate. But the clouds over land, heated by the warm earth, often persist. They form a stationary stack, a pile of clouds that seems anchored in one spot, while the other clouds drift past it. You watch the horizon. Sure enough, there's a stubborn pile of fluff that refuses to move. It sits there, anchored to the invisible island below it. It looks like a chimney smoking. That is our target. Night falls. We slow the canoe down. We drop the sail halfway. We don't want to crash into a reef in the dark. That would be a tragic irony. Sail 2,000 miles perfectly only to sink 100 yards from the beach because you were speeding. We are entering the screen of detection. The island isn't just a rock. It has a presence that extends outward. The birds extend 40 miles. The clouds extend 20 miles. The swell disruption extends maybe 10 miles. We are moving through these layers of influence. You lie on the deck, looking up. The stars are back. But now, they seem different. They aren't just guiding us. They are watching the end of the show. You feel a strange melancholy. The voyage is ending. The infinite blue world is about to be interrupted by hard, solid rock. You will have to walk on legs again. You will have to talk to people who haven't smelled your armpits for 2 weeks. You look at the green phosphorescence in the water again. It seems brighter tonight. Maybe it's the nutrient runoff from the island fueling the plankton. The ocean is getting richer, thicker with life. You see a flash of silver, a fish jumping. Then, another. The water is waking up. The navigator is sitting by the steering sweep, humming a low tune. He isn't looking at the stars anymore. He is looking at the dark line where the sky meets the sea, waiting for it to harden into a silhouette. You close your eyes, trying to imprint this moment. The feeling of being suspended between two worlds. The absolute trust in signs you can barely see. The realization that the world is much bigger and much more interconnected than you ever thought. You fell asleep dreaming of green clouds and floating coconuts, drifting slowly toward the solid earth. Just when you think you've mastered the ocean decides to remind you who is really in charge. You wake up the next morning expecting to see a green island on the horizon. Instead, you see nothing. And worse, you feel nothing. The wind has vanished. We've hit the doldrums, the intertropical convergence zone. It's a belt of low pressure near the equator where the trade winds from the northern and southern hemispheres crash into each other and cancel out. The result is a dead zone, a vacuum. The sail hangs limp, like a wet bedsheet. The boom creaks lazily as the canoe rolls in the oily, glass-like swell. There is no hiss of water against the hull, no forward momentum, just silence. An oppressive, heavy silence that feels like the air's been sucked out of the world. The heat is instant and terrifying. Without the wind to cool you, the sun feels physical. It presses down on your skull. The air is stagnant, thick with humidity. You can't sweat effectively because the air is already saturated. You just leak. The navigator looks concerned. Not panicked, but serious. We are stuck. We could be here for hours. We could be here for days. In the old stories, canoes were trapped in the doldrums for weeks until everyone died of thirst. It's the horse latitudes of the Pacific, minus the horses. We drop the sail. It's useless. It's just getting sun damaged. We rig up a makeshift awning with spare mats to create some shade. The crew huddles underneath it, lethargic. Nobody speaks. Speaking wastes moisture. You check the water supply. The bamboo tubes are getting light. The coconuts are mostly gone. We have maybe 3 days of water left at full ration. If we cut rations in half, maybe 6 days. The navigator signals to the waterkeeper. "Half rations," he whispers. You take a sip of your half ration. It's warm, almost hot. It tastes like bamboo and old wax. It doesn't quench your thirst. It just wets your tongue. You fantasize about ice. You hallucinate a vending machine dispensing cold soda. The psychological torture begins. The ocean surface is mesmerizingly flat. It looks like a mirror of mercury. You can see your own reflection looking back at you, sunburned and gaunt. You can see deep into the water. It's clear, empty blue. You drop a crumb of breadfruit overboard. It just sits there. It doesn't drift away. We aren't moving. This is where the mana, the spiritual power, of the navigator is tested. In the legends, a powerful navigator could call the wind. He would chant to the wind gods, Layamau Maudot. He would offer a sacrifice of kava, or a precious object. Our navigator doesn't have kava. He has patience. He sits at the stern, watching the horizon for the slightest ripple. Cat's paw in the water. A dark patch that indicates a breeze. You try to paddle. The crew grabs the heavy steering paddles, and we try to row this 60-foot beast. It's like trying to row a floating apartment building. 1, 2, heave. The canoe moves inches. We sweat gallons. After 20 minutes, we are exhausted and have moved maybe 50 yards. It's pointless. You can't row across the Pacific. We stop. We drift. The day stretches into eternity. The sun moves so slowly, it seems stuck. You start to notice the trash of the ocean accumulating around the canoe. Without wind to disperse it, debris gathers in the dead spots. A log. A plastic bottle. Wait, no plastic in 1000 AD. Maybe a piece of pumice from a volcano. A dead squid. The flies arrive. Where did they come from? We are hundreds of miles from land. But suddenly, there are biting flies. They buzz around your face, landing on your sweat. You slap them sluggishly. They are the only things with energy. Night falls, but it brings no relief. The heat lingers. The stars reflect perfectly in the still water, creating a 360-degree sphere of lights. You feel like you are floating in space. There is no up or down. Vertigo sets in. You have to grip the railing to convince yourself you haven't fallen off the earth. Then, a sound. Whoosh. It sounds like a steam valve opening. You jump. It's close. Whoosh. You look over the side. A dark shape, massive and sleek, glides under the canoe. It's bigger than the canoe. A whale. A sperm whale. It surfaces right next to the hull, its blowhole mist in the air. The smell is pungent, fishy, oily breath. It looks at you with a tiny eye. In the silence of the doldrums, the whale is deafening. You can hear it breathing. You can hear the water gurgling around its bulk. It's terrifying. If it decides to breach, or if it just flicks its tail, our canoe becomes kindling. The navigator whispers a greeting to the whale. He treats it as an ancestor. Kumulipo.tu. The whale lingers for a moment, investigating his wooden log with monkeys on it, then slowly sinks back into the abyss. The water smooths over as if it was never there. You realize how vulnerable you are. You are a speck of dust on a mirror. Then the ring comes. It starts as a distant gray curtain, a squall. Usually, squalls are bad, but in the doldrums, a squall is salvation. It brings wind. It brings water. Rain. Someone croaks. We scramble. We unfurl a clean mat, the catching mat. We hold it up like a funnel. The rain hits us. It's cold. It's shocking. It's heavy. It washes the salt off our skin. We open our mouths to the sky, drinking it in. It tastes sweet, metallic, pure. We funnel the water from the mat into the empty gourds and bamboo tubes. We refill our supply. The mood shifts instantly from despair to euphoria. We are saved. And with the rain comes the wind. A cool, sharp breeze hits the sail. The canvas snaps. The boom swings. The canoe heels over. We are moving. The water starts to hiss again. The stagnation is broken. The navigator laughs. It's a rare sound. The gods were thirsty, he jokes. We sail out of the dead zone, chasing the squall. The wind is erratic, gusty, but it's wind. We are back in the game. You look back at the patch of calm water we left behind. It looks innocent now, just a flat spot in the ocean. But you know it's a trap? A beautiful, glittering trap that almost killed you with nothing but silence. The canoe cuts through the water, renewed by the squall, but the ocean has one more layer of weirdness to peel back before we see land. We are entering the realm of the deep scattering layer. It's night again, but the water below us is alive in a way that feels almost technological. You are leaning over the side watching the phosphorescence. We've seen the green sparkles of disturbed plankton before, the firewater that trails off the rudder, but this is different. This is distinct shapes, glowing orbs, flashing strobes, long, undulating ribbons of light moving deep down in the ink-black water. We are sailing over a deep ocean trench. The bottom is miles down. But at night, the creatures of the abyss migrate upward to feed. It's the largest migration of biomass on the planet, and it happens every single night. Squid, lanternfish, jellies, billions of tons of them rise from the twilight zone to the surface. You see a flash of red light. Red is rare in the ocean because red light doesn't travel far underwater. But some deep-sea dragonfish use red bioluminescence as a sniper scope. They can see red, but their prey can't. It's an invisible flashlight. You watch the red dot zip under the hull. It's like watching a laser pointer. The Spirit fires. One of the younger crewmen whispers, looking nervous. He thinks it's ghosts. The navigator shakes his head. Food? He corrects. He points to a large glowing shape that looks like a torpedo. A squid. A big one. Probably a Humboldt or a diamondback. It flashes white, then red, then fades to invisible. It's hunting. This bioluminescence is actually a navigational aid. The navigator watches how the glowing shapes move. If the deep currents are flowing against us, the light show will drift in a specific direction relative to the canoe. If we are in a countercurrent, the glowing blobs will seem to race past us faster than our speed would suggest. He is using the jellyfish as a speedometer. Suddenly, the water explodes. The massive shape launches itself out of the blackness, glowing with green slime, and lands on the deck with a wet thwack. You jump back. It's a fish, but not a normal fish. It's a mai, shimmering with dying colors, gold, blue, green. It was chasing the flying fish that were attracted to the phosphorescence of our wake. It miscalculated and jumped right into the boat. Dinner. The crew cheers. This is a gift. No fishing line required. The fish is dispatched quickly. Raw strips of meat are handed out immediately. It's sweet, firm, and tastes like victory. You chew the sashimi, watching the glowing ocean slide by. It feels like you are eating the energy of the sea itself. But there are other things down there too. Things you don't want to catch. You see a shape that is far too large to be a squid. It's a dark void that blocks out the glowing plankton. A shark? A whale? Or something else? The Pacific is old. It has secrets. You pull your hand back from the rail. It's best not to dangle your fingers in the soup when the soup bites back. The navigator is looking for something specific in the glow. He is looking for tilapia again, the underwater lightning. It's a controversial phenomenon. Some traditional navigators claim that islands emit a sort of flashing streak of light underwater, radiating outward like spokes on a wheel. It's not bioluminescence. It's physics. It might be interference patterns of deep swell hitting the island base and creating a visual artifact. Or it might be nonsense. Do you see it? He asks you. You stare into the deep. You see sparkles. You see fish trails. Do you see a streak? A flash that points toward the horizon? Maybe. Your brain wants to see it. You imagine a faint line of light shooting out from the southwest. I think so. You lie. Or maybe you tell the truth. It's hard to tell. The navigator nods. He doesn't need you to see it. He sees it. He adjusts the steering sweep slightly. He is following the underwater lightning. It sounds insane. Steering a boat by imaginary underwater strobe lights. But when you are out here, the line between insane and advanced physics gets very blurry. The wind picks up. The canoe accelerates. The phosphorescence gets brighter, churned up by the speed. The wake looks like a rocket exhaust now, a blazing trail of neon green foam. We are leaving a mark on the ocean, however temporary. You look up at the stars. They are crisp and clear after the rain. The Southern Cross is low on the horizon. We are getting close to the latitude of the island. The geometry is locking in. The combination of the stars above and the lights below creates a tunnel effect. You feel like you are traveling through a wormhole. The canoe is the only solid thing in a universe of light. You touch the wood of the hull. It's vibrating. It's humming. It wants to find the land as much as you do. You go back to your mat, the taste of raw fish still in your mouth. You close your eyes, but the flashing lights are still there. You dream of giant squid guiding the canoe with traffic wands, ushering you into the harbor. It's a weird dream, but it fits the night. When you wake up, the light show is over. The sun is rising. The water is just blue again. The magic monsters have gone back to the abyss. But you know they're there. Just under the surface. Waiting for the sun to turn off so they can start the rave again. You check the horizon. It looks different today. The haze is thicker. The air smells different. It doesn't smell like pure salt anymore. It smells complex. Like rot. Like earth. Like life. The smell of the ocean has changed, but the most critical sign comes from the air. We are now within the radius of the land-based birds. This is different from the pelagic wanderers we saw earlier. We are looking for the commuters. The birds that have a mortgage on an island and have to be home by sunset. The navigator is tense. He is standing on the prow, shading his eyes, scanning the sky like a radar dish. He is looking for terns, white terns and sooty terns, and noddies. These birds fly out to fish in the morning and fly back to their island in the evening. There, he points, a group of black noddies. They are flying low, skimming the waves, hunting for small fish. The math is simple, but vital. Noddies typically don't fly more than 20 to 30 miles from their nesting site. If we see them, land is within that circle. But where within the circle? We watch them fish. They dive, splash, rise. They are busy. They aren't going anywhere yet. It's midday. They are on their lunch break. We have to wait. We have to shadow them. We adjust our course to follow the flock, keeping a respectful distance. We are stalking birds. It feels primal. We are wolves following the herd, except we don't want to eat them. We want to see where they sleep. As the afternoon progresses, the behavior of the birds changes. They stop diving. They start gathering in tighter groups. They gain altitude. This is the signal. It's quitting time. They are grouping, the navigator says. Suddenly, as if responding to a silent bell, the flock turns. They all turn in the exact same direction. southwest tide. They fly with purpose now. No more meandering. They are heading home. We turn the canoe. We align our prow with the flight path of the birds. This is our bearing. We are literally triangulating the island based on the flight vectors of seabirds. But it gets more complicated. We see another group of birds, white terns, coming from a slightly different angle. They are also heading home, but their vector is slightly different. The navigator watches both groups. He is calculating the intersection point. If Group A is flying southwest and Group B is flying south-southwest, the island lies where those lines cross. It's geometry in motion. You look at the birds with a newfound respect. They are the ultimate GPS. They know exactly where the tiny speck of sand is in this endless blue. They have magnetic compasses in their brains. We are just dumb apes floating on a log, following the smart creatures. The sun begins to lower. The birds are flying faster now, racing the darkness. We can't keep up with them. They are doing 30 knots. We are doing 6. They disappear over the horizon, fading into tiny dots, then nothing. We have lost our guides, but we have the bearing. The navigator checks the star compass. He lines up the spot where the birds vanished with a rising star. He locks it in. That is our target. But now a new doubt creeps in. What if they weren't going to an island? What if they were going to a sandbar that is underwater at high tide? What if they were just confused? The navigator shakes his head. Noddies don't sleep on water, he says. Their feathers get waterlogged. If they land on water, they drown. They must find land. That's a comforting thought. The birds have more skin in the game than we do. If they don't find the island, they die tonight. If we don't find it, we just drift for another day. We are betting on their survival instinct. We sail on into the twilight. The mood on the boat is electric. We are close. Everyone feels it. The air feels thick. You can almost taste the pollen. The navigator calls for silence. Listen, he says. We stop talking. We stop moving around. We just listen. We are listening for the surf. The sound of waves hitting a reef travels for miles underwater and through the air. A low, constant roar. The voice of the island. You strain your ears. All you hear is the wind and the slap of water against the hull. Is that a roar? Or just the blood rushing in your ears? It's hard to tell. Then, you hear something else. A cry. A screech. It's a bird. But not a seabird. It sounds like a land bird. A rail? A rail? A kingfisher? It's faint, carried on the wind. Did you hear that? You whisper. The navigator nods. He heard it. A land bird call means we are very close. Maybe 5 miles. We reduce sail. We slow down to a crawl. We don't want to smash into the island we have spent a month looking for. We are now creeping forward in the dark, hands sensing the air, ears tuned to the frequency of crashing waves. The birds have done their job. They led us to the threshold. Now, we have to find the door. We are now sailing into the invisible force field of the island. The birds have clocked out, the sun has quit, and we are left with the dark and the water. But the water has changed again. It's no longer the rhythmic, predictable roller coaster we rode for 2 weeks. It's becoming argumentative. The navigator signals for the canoe to slow even further. We drop the sail almost completely, leaving just a sliver of woven pandanus to catch the breeze. We are creeping. This is the maritime equivalent of walking through a dark room with your hands out, terrified you're going to stub your toe on the coffee table. Except the coffee table is a razor-sharp coral reef, and your toe is a 60-foot wooden boat. Get in the hull, the navigator whispers to you. It sounds like a punishment, but it's a promotion. You are about to become the ship's sonar. You crawl into the dark, cramped space inside the porthole. It smells of damp wood, old coconuts, and the lingering musk of the pig that lived here last week. You lie down flat on your back, pressing your spine against the wooden planks. You close your eyes. You're trying to feel the island echo? Here is the physics of it, which is actually quite mind-blowing for a Stone Age technology. The ocean swell we've been riding, that big, steady drumbeat from the southeast, doesn't just stop when it hits an island. It hits the landmass and bounces back. It reflects. Think of it like sound waves hitting a canyon wall and creating an echo. But instead of sound, it's heavy water. This reflected wave travels back out to sea, moving against the grain of the main swell. When the two waves meet, the incoming giant and the outgoing echo, they crash into each other. They create an interference pattern, a localized chop, a standing wave. Lying in the hull, you are trying to feel this specific dissonance. The smooth roll of the open ocean is suddenly interrupted by a sharp, jarring slap. It feels like someone just kicked the side of the canoe. Thump. Bayumes. There it is. You hold your breath. Was that a turtle? A log? Or was it the echo? Thump, slap. It happens again. The rhythm is broken. The canoe shudders in a way that feels unnatural. It feels confused. The water isn't flowing. It's arguing with itself. This technique is incredibly subtle. Historians and anthropologists like David Lewis have spent years trying to understand how Pacific navigators did this. Some legends say the navigators would float in the water to feel the interference pattern on their skin. Others say they used their, well, let's just say, sensitive anatomy. The story goes that a navigator would sit on the deck and use the vibration traveling up through his testicles to detect the interference patterns. It sounds like a dirty joke, but biologically, it makes sense. That part of the body is extremely sensitive to vibration. Since you are currently fully clothed and lying in a hull, you are using your rib cage and spine instead. It's less legendary, but hopefully still effective. You focus on your back. You try to map the vibrations. The main swell is lifting your feet, then your head. That's the engine. But this new vibration, this jiggle, is coming from the side. It's sharp. It's high frequency. I feel the slap you whisper up through the hatch. The navigator nods. He feels it too, standing on the deck. The backwash. The island is pushing back against the sea. We are in the impact zone. This tells us two things. One, the island is definitely there. We aren't chasing a phantom. Two, we are close. The reflected waves dissipate quickly. They usually only travel about 20 or 30 miles out before the main ocean swallows them up. If we can feel the slap, we are within the red zone. But there is another phenomenon to look for, the shadow. If the island is large enough, and if we are on the lee side, the downwind side, the island blocks the main swell completely. It casts a swell shadow. Imagine standing behind a building on a windy day. The air is still. It's the same with water. You crawl out of the hull and stand up. You scan the water in the starlight. It looks calmer here. The massive rolling mountains of water that have been tossing us around for days seem to have lost their teeth. The canoe isn't pitching as violently. We have entered the garage. The swell is broken. The navigator murmurs. We have found the shadow. This is huge. It means the island is shielding us. But it also means we are in danger. The reef doesn't cast a shadow. Only the land does. The reef is lurking somewhere in the dark, submerged, waiting to rip the bottom out of the canoe. The silence is heavy now. The wind is blocked by the invisible landmass ahead. The sails hang limp. We are drifting on momentum and current. You strain your ears again. You are listening for the roar. The surf on the reef. But the wind shadow makes everything quiet. It's a paradox. You are closer than ever. But the signs are fading because you are too close. You are inside the system. The crew is on high alert. Men are stationed at the bow with long bamboo poles. They are ready to sound the bottom. If they feel coral, we back paddle for our lives. You look at the water off the bow. It looks blacker than usual. Is that possible? Or is it just the lack of whitecaps? Disrupted water, the navigator says. He steers the canoe slightly to the right. He's trying to skirt the edge of the shadow, trying to find the boundary line where the smooth water meets the chop. That boundary line points to the edge of the island. We want to go around the island, not into it. You realize that this entire voyage has been a conversation with the ocean. At first, the ocean shouted at you with storms. Then, it spoke clearly with stars. Now, it is whispering. It is using subtle vibrations, shadows, and echoes. You have to be very quiet to hear the end of the story. A wave slaps the hull again, harder this time. Crack! The wood groans. Too close, the navigator says. Back paddle. The command is whispered, but the urgency is screaming. The interference pattern is getting violent. The waves are bouncing right off a cliff or a wall and hitting us immediately. We are right on top of something. The crew grabs the paddles. Whoosh! Whoosh! We reverse the canoe. We back away from the invisible wall. We wait. The slap subsides. We breathe. That was a near miss. We almost walked into the wall in the dark. We hold our position, drifting gently in the soup of confused waves. We are like a car idling in the driveway, waiting for the garage door to open. We can't land at night. It's suicide. We have to wait for dawn. You sit on the deck, your heart hammering against your ribs. You can feel the island now. Not just the waves. You can feel its mass. It's a gravitational pull, a heavy presence in the void. It's right there, just behind the curtain of night. And then, the wind shifts. Just a subtle puff. It comes from the direction of the invisible wall. And it carries a message that your nose understands instantly. The wind hits your face and it stops you cold. For weeks you have breathed nothing but the sterile, sharp, metallic tang of salt and ozone. The air out here is clean, antiseptic almost. It has no history. It just cycles through the water and the sky, scrubbing itself endlessly. But this new wind? This wind has baggage. It hits you with the subtlety of a wet towel. It is heavy, warm, and thick. You inhale deeply, your nostrils flaring like a tracking dog. It's a complex bouquet, a chaotic mix of organic chemistry that your brain struggles to unpick after so long in the sterile void. First, you smell the rot. That sounds bad, but to a sailor, it's the sweetest perfume on earth. It's the smell of decay. Wet leaves, decomposing coconut husks, black mud, fungus. It's the smell of life breaking down to create new life. The ocean doesn't rot like this. Only land rots. It's the scent of biology doing its messy work. Then, underneath the musk of the compost, you catch the floral notes. It's faint, but it's there. The sweet, cloying scent of tiare flowers, or maybe ylang, blooming in the night. It's a heavy, oily sweetness that hangs in the humid air. It feels like walking into a greenhouse. And finally, the clincher. The smell that makes the hair on your arm stand up. Smoke. Wood smoke. Not the acrid smoke of a volcano, but the soft, savory smoke of a cooking fire. Someone, somewhere in the darkness ahead, is burning ironwood or coconut shells. Maybe they are roasting a breadfruit. Maybe they are smoking fish. It doesn't matter. It means humans. You look at the Navigator. He is sniffing the air with his eyes closed, a look of pure rapture on his face. He nods. The fires of home, he whispers. Or maybe it's the fires of strangers who might eat us. It's a toss-up in this era. But right now, the presence of other human beings feels like a miracle. There is a scholarly debate that fits nicely here. Historians and anthropologists often argue about whether Polynesian islands maintain signal fires. Some oral traditions suggest that islanders would keep massive bonfires burning on the windward beaches, specifically to guide wayward canoes home. A sort of Neolithic lighthouse system. Others argue that wood was too precious to waste on giant beacons, and that what sailors smelled was just the collective output of domestic hearths, the evening dinner rush. Standing here, smelling that faint drift of charcoal, you don't really care about the logistics. You just know that smoke means dry land. The reaction on the canoe is visceral. The silence breaks. Men start weeping. Quietly at first, then openly. It's the release of a month's worth of repressed terror. You didn't realize how scared you were until the fear evaporated. You touch your face and realize you are crying too. It's a strange mix of exhaustion and relief. Even animals know. The pigs in the pen start grunting and shuffling. They smell the mud. They smell the roots. Their genetic programming is screaming home. The chickens start clucking. The whole boat wakes up. The biology of the canoe is responding to the biology of the island. We drift closer. The smell gets stronger. You can practically taste the island now. It tastes like damp earth. It's a sensory overload. Your brain starts constructing a map based purely on odor. Swamp to the left, you think, smelling the sulfurous tang of a taro patch. Dry forest to the right, you think, smelling the resin of pine-like ironwood trees. You are seeing with your nose. We are still in the dark, floating in the lee of the island, waiting for the sun. This is the longest hour of the voyage. The hour of the wolf, or whatever the Polynesian equivalent is. The hour where you are safe, but you can't touch the safety yet. You just have to float in its aroma. You sit down on the deck, leaning against the mast. The adrenaline crash has hidden you hard. Now that you know you aren't going to die of thirst, your body decides it's time to shut down. You feel heavy, like your bones have turned to lead. You wrap your arms around your knees, rocking slightly with the gentle motion of the boat. You think about the people tending those fires. Do they know we are here? Can they smell us? We probably smell pretty ripe ourselves. Unwashed for a month, covered in rancid coconut oil and pig manure. We are bringing our own distinct atmosphere to the party. The sky begins to lighten. It's not dawn yet, just the false dawn. A gray softening of the eastern horizon. The stars begin to retreat. The curtain is about to rise. You stand up, your legs stiff. You move to the rail. Everyone is looking west, toward the smell. Slowly, incredibly slowly, a shape begins to detach itself from the night. It's not just a shadow anymore. It's a hard edge, a silhouette. It's jagged. Mountains, high, volcanic peaks tearing into the clouds. This isn't a flat atoll. This is a high island, a fortress of rock. As the light bleeds into the sky, the colors begin to emerge. First, the deep purple of the mountains. Then, the vibrant, impossible green of the rainforest. It looks fake. It looks like a painting. After a month of nothing but blue and gray, the green is shocking. It hurts your eyes. It's so aggressive, so alive. And then you see the white line, the surf. The barrier reef is a white scar running along the base of the island, separating the deep blue ocean from the calm turquoise lagoon inside. That white line is the final boss. We have to cross it. The navigator is scanning the white line. He is looking for a gap, a break in the teeth. The pass. There, he points. You strain to see. It looks like a darker patch of water in the churning white foam. A narrow channel where the fresh water from the island's rivers flows out, killing the coral and creating a highway for boats. That is our door. The smell of smoke is stronger now, mixing with the smell of the damp forest as the sun starts to heat up the land. It's the smell of breakfast. You realize you're starving. Not the dull hunger of rationing, but a sudden ravenous hunger for something warm and soft. The crew moves to their stations. The weeping is over. Now, it's business. We have to thread this needle. The sail is raised slightly, just enough to give us steerage way. We turn the canoe toward the dark gap in the white water. You look back at the open ocean one last time. The vast, empty blue void that was your entire universe for 30 days. It looks indifferent. It doesn't care that you survived. It doesn't care that you are leaving. It just rolls on, endless and deep. You feel a strange pang of loss. You are leaving the wildness. You are going back to rules, to society, to gravity. But then the wind shifts again, blowing a lungful of sweet frangipani and roasting pig right into your face, and you decide that gravity is probably okay. The canoe surges forward, catching the swell that will carry us through the pass. You grip the rail. The sound of the surf changes from a distant hum to a roar. The smell of the land envelopes you completely. You are no longer an astronaut in the void. You are a guest knocking on the front door. And it smells like they are expecting company. The transition from the open ocean to the lagoon is the most dramatic scene change in nature. It happens in seconds. One moment, you are in the washing machine, a chaotic, churning zone where the massive energy of the Pacific collides with the immovable wall of the reef. The noise is deafening. It's a physical weight on your eardrums. The water is foaming, white, and angry. The navigator screams a command, but you feel it in your bones rather than hear it. We are riding the back of a swell. It's a surfing maneuver, but with a 60-foot double-hulled canoe loaded with pigs and exhausted men. The wave lifts the stern. The canoe surges forward, gathering speed. You grip the rail so hard your fingernails dig into the wood. The coral heads are visible just beneath the surface. Jagged, razor-sharp teeth waiting for a mistake. They rush by in a blur of brown and purple. And then, pop. The noise cuts out. The violent pitching stops. The foam vanishes. You have crossed the threshold. You are in the lagoon. The sudden silence is shocking. It feels like you've gone deaf. But then you hear the new sounds. The gentle lap of tiny wavelets against the hull, the rustle of palm fronds in the breeze, the distant crow of a rooster. The water changes instantly from the menacing indigo of the deep to a translucent, impossible turquoise. It looks like liquid glass. You look down and you can see everything. Every grain of sand on the bottom, 30 feet down. A school of small blue fish darts away from the canoe's shadow. A sea turtle lazily flaps its flippers, looking up at you with supreme indifference. The tension that has held your body rigid for a month suddenly snaps. Your shoulders drop 3 inches. You let out a breath you feel like you've been holding since you left the last island. The canoe glides forward on its own momentum, slowing down, losing its aggression. It's no longer a survival capsule fighting the elements. It's just a boat floating in a swimming pool. We drift toward the beach. It's a white crescent of sand, lined with coconut palms that lean out over the water as if trying to see their own reflection. The smell of the land is overpowering now. Smoke, flowers, wet earth, roasting meat. It makes your stomach cramp with anticipation. The navigator guides us in. He doesn't need to shout anymore. He just gestures. A little left, a little right. We are aiming for a soft patch of sand between 2 coral outcrops. Scritch, whoosh. The keels of the hulls touch the sand. It's the most beautiful sound in the world. The gentle friction of arrival. The canoe shudders and comes to a halt. We have stopped. For the first time in 30 days, the world has stopped moving. Disembark, the navigator says softly. You climb over the gunwale. You drop your legs into the water. It's warm, bath-warm, and only knee-deep. Your feet sink into the soft white sand. You wiggle your toes. Sand. Solid, stationary sand. You try to walk toward the beach and you immediately stumble. You look like a drunk toddler. Your legs have forgotten how to operate on a static surface. They are still trying to compensate for the roll of the ocean. The ground feels like it's heaving and pitching. This is land sickness or mal de débarquement. Your vestibular system is protesting the lack of chaos. You laugh, a dry, cracked sound. The other sailors are stumbling too, holding onto the canoe for balance. Villagers are running down the beach now. They are shouting greetings, waving woven mats. They wade out to help. Strong hands grab the gunwales. They pull the canoe higher up the sand, beyond the reach of the tide. You let them take over. You are done. You unlash your personal gourd. You grab your sleeping mat. That's it. You leave the pigs, the coconuts, the seedlings to the logistics crew. You have fulfilled your contract. You kept the boat afloat. Someone hands you a fresh drink and coconut. The husk has been chopped open with a machete. You lift it to your lips. The water inside is cool, sweet, and tastes of green life. It washes away the taste of salt and stale bamboo. You drink it in one long, desperate gulp, the liquid running down your chin. It is the nectar of the gods. You walk up the beach, past the tree line. The shade of the trees feels heavy and cool. The light is filtered, green, and dappled, a stark contrast to the brutal, relentless glare of the open ocean. Your eyes relax. There's a feast being prepared. You can smell pork cooking in an earth oven. Emu dot. You can see piles of bananas and taro. But you realize, with a heavy certainty, that you cannot eat. You are too tired. The exhaustion is a physical weight pressing you down into the earth. Your body has been running on adrenaline and fear for weeks, and now the tank is empty. You find a quiet spot under a breadfruit tree, away from the commotion of the welcome party. The sand here is dry and warm. You spread out your woven pandanus mat. It feels incredibly luxurious, better than any feather bed you've ever imagined. You lie down. The sensation is strange. The ground still feels like it's swaying. If you close your eyes, you are back on the canoe. Lift. Roll. Dot-tall. Drop. Dot-it. The phantom swell is still with you. But it's gentle now. It's a rocking chair, not a roller coaster. You look up through the leaves of the breadfruit tree. You can see patches of sky. It's the same sky you stared at for a month, but it looks different now. It's framed. It's safe. You see a white tern flutter by and land on a branch. It looks at you, tilting its head. And maybe it's the same bird that guided you in. Probably not, but you blink a slow gratitude at it anyway. You hear the sounds of the village, the laughter, the singing, the rhythmic thumping of taro being pounded. But it sounds distant, like it's coming from another room. Your world has shrunk down to the 6 feet of sand beneath your back. Your muscles begin to twitch and unclench. The knot in your lower back releases. The tension in your hands, shaped like claws from gripping the paddle, finally softens. You take a deep breath, inhaling the smell of the earth, the rich, dark, fertile soil that will grow the seedlings you brought. You think back to the launch, the heavy lifting, the fear. You think of the storms, the doldrums, the sharks, the stars. It feels like a lifetime ago. It feels like a dream you had. Did you really cross the biggest ocean on the planet in a wooden canoe? It seems impossible. But the sand in your hair is real. The cut on your foot from the coral is real. The steady ground beneath you is real. You realize that you have changed. You aren't the same person who left the first island. You have the map in your head now. You know the names of the stars. You know the texture of the wind. You've become a wayfinder. But right now, you are just a tired human being who needs to recharge. The ocean will be there tomorrow. The stars will rise tonight whether you watch them or not. For the first time in a month, you don't have to be vigilant. You don't have to watch the horizon. You can just let go. The land sickness rocking sensation sinks with your breathing. In, out, lift, drop. It lulls you. The sounds of the village fade into a comforting hum, a white noise of humanity. The light filtering through the leaves dims as your eyelids become too heavy to hold up. You press your cheek against the woven mat. It smells of dried grass and sun. It smells like home. You are safe. You are found. You are asleep. Wind down. The fire in the village has burned down to glowing embers, casting a soft, pulsing orange light on the trunks of the palm trees. The feast is over. The singing has faded into whispers, and the whispers have faded into the rhythmic breathing of a sleeping island. The canoe, your faithful companion, sits high in the sand, its wood cooling and contracting in the night air, letting out the occasional quiet creak, a sigh of relief from a job well done. The ocean beyond the reef continues its eternal motion, but here, in the shelter of the trees, the air is still. The wind has decided to rest, just like you. The leaves above you stop rustling, hanging motionless in the velvet dark. High above, The great celestial clockwork keeps turning. The stars we memorized, Ocule, Sirius, the Southern Cross, continue their silent march across the dome of the sky. They rise and set, marking time for the whales and the waves, but they no longer demand your attention. They are just beautiful lights now, watching over your rest from 1 billion miles away. The phantom rocking in your body slows down, matching the slow, deep beat of your heart. The boundary between the land and the sea blurs in your mind, and you float in that warm, comfortable space between waking and dreaming. There is no more distance to cover. There is no more horizon to chase. You have arrived. The night wraps around you like a soft blanket of indigo. The world is safe, the ground is solid, and the journey is complete. Let the darkness hold you. Let the silence fill you. Let the peace of the island settle deep into your bones. End of script. Sweet dreams.